looks like the Bay State, in the words of Limp Bizkit, is just having one of those weeks again. You've got the sisterhood of the traveling pink shirts. You've got Ken Mello giving the old Irish goodbye. Rest in pepperoni. And then comes Rachael Rollins, who has somehow become the closest thing Massachusetts currently has to a moral compass. This and more in today's video.
Karen Reed was being prosecuted by a DA in Norfolk County, and a former colleague of mine, Michael Morris.
Hello, and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexa's Room, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including Rachael Rollins, the former U.S. Attorney and Suffolk County DA, infamously known for exploiting a youth basketball group by offering 30 free tickets to a Celtics game because she was boinking some dude at the time who had a connection with the Celtics, and instead of getting her own hands dirty, she farmed it out, of course, to her then assistant.
Two separate investigations reveal why U.S. Attorney Rachael Rollins is stepping down. The accusations start with leaking Justice Department information to sabotage a political enemy and extend all the way to unethically requesting Celtics tickets.
Has recently thrust her mole back into the spotlight, this time trying to reclaim her old job back from Kevin Hayden as Suffolk County DA. And a lot of her current platform seems to be riding on the backlash that Kevin Hayden has recently received over the Nicholas O'Malley case, the Boston cop who was indicted in March for manslaughter after shooting and unaliving a carjacking suspect named Stevenson King.
The Boston Police Patrolmen's Association has called for people to run against the incumbent DA because of the way he's handling the Stevenson King and Officer O'Malley situation. There are no protocols at all in this office. Nothing is written down. There is a problem with that, I promise you, when you can't point to a policy to say, I hate you, Jim Browdy, because you said this. At least I can point to it. You get different outcomes every time if we don't have written policies.
So you just know the system is absolutely cooked when you have Miss Rachael. No, the other one. Miss Rachael becoming the voice of reason in all of this mess.
Karen Reed case came into the U.S. Attorney's Office. Remember, Karen Reed was being prosecuted by a DA in Norfolk County and a former colleague of mine, Michael Morrissey, and it came into the office, and I was notified by my first assistant that, not the specifics, but just that there was a case where there were allegations of, police misconduct or, discovery not being turned over to defense counsel. And, I said to my first assistant, who's, great lawyer, follow the evidence. Whatever you see, even if it includes prosecutors that are engaged in cover-ups, you have my full authority to look into this. It is incredibly rare that we, as the feds, jump into an open investigation. Now, we weren't investigating O'Keefe's murder, but what we were investigating and looking into was sort of not only the charges that were levied, the discovery that was not turned over, acts by the state police in particular. Because I think what was crazy was that the Alberts never opened there's a dead body on your front lawn who also happens to be a Boston police officer. There were several shocking things that happened. So I do think also the fact that the Boston police didn't really show up for John during the trial. I get it, it wasn't in Suffolk County, but for example, Nicholas O'Malley, who was charged with in the death of Stevenson King in Roxbury, the Boston police lined the courtroom for Nicholas O'Malley. But it did, I think, hurt that there was very little, if any, police presence for O'Keefe's murder, But again, I think for me, the biggest piece of that case was the federal investigation finding that, the injuries on O'Keefe's body were not consistent with the car accident.
Follow the sweaty meatball. Follow the sweaty meatball. But yes, you are correct, Rachael. How come a man, a first responder, who's been on the job for 30 fucking years, Brian Albert, not immediately run outside and administer first aid to a dying man or bring him into his heated, I'm assuming, home, where it's warm inside and John O'Keefe could have de-thawed whilst awaiting the paramedics to arrive. But oh no, Big Daddy Butt Dial was too busy to pull out midnight in the face of Irish poverty.
Isn't it true that at the other hearing you indicated that at or around the 2:22 time frame, you and your wife were in bed together in an intimate situation?
Yes, around that time, I think it reads.
She's a disease, but Big Daddy Butt Dial is the cure. That's gross. Now, truth be told, I probably wouldn't trust this chick as far as you can roll her, but she certainly is saying all of the right things. I mean, she's even got King David's seal of approval, so... Speaking of meeting King David's seal of approval, here's a little ditty for ya. What do an excommunicated racist cop, an iron-deficient metrosexual who's got a hard-on for a guy named Turtle Boy, and a mediocre state prosecutor who looks like he smells like a motel ashtray that's occasionally been used as a urinal, all have in common? That's right. They're all about to be potentially publicly barbecued next week by one Rosemary Scapicchio. And shout out to Kelly Steffi on the Twitter X's for providing us with this filing and breakdown. Make sure you go give her a follow on your way out of this video. So this is a new filing in the Miles King case, which I have an entire playlist on. If you want to check that out, there is this evidentiary hearing that's going to take place next week on the 27th, I believe. I think that, what day of the week is that? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. On Thursday. And this is, from my understanding, a continuation of Adam Lally's cross-examination, but also who has been added to this witness list for this evidentiary hearing on Miles King's motion to dismiss, which I think we went over the supplemental motion to dismiss following all of the stuff that came out recently in Proctor's box, is Michael Proctor. So Big Bear, oh baby, oh boy, Sean Good, and Brian Tully. Now comes the defendant, Miles King, and respectfully submits this additional witness list with a brief summary for each as ordered by the court. And the summaries are offered for purposes of the evidentiary hearing, so why these people need to be called and questioned specifically and what part they play in all of this. So Michael Proctor, one former trooper, Proctor, Big Bear, is the basis for the entire second supplemental motion to dismiss. Will he stage another panic attack and take a trip to Florida? Maybe. Proctor is being called to rebut the Commonwealth's claim that he was not the lead investigator. Proctor's personal cell phone communications, in which he calls black people the N-word, slaves, and animals, will be the subject of examination to support King's claim. And that's putting it lightly, because we did go over all of that. So again, you can check those videos out, which the Commonwealth disputes. The Proctor, not the Proctor, that Proctor, was so racist and biased against black people that he could not conduct a fair investigation as the lead investigator. Additionally, Proctor is being called to testify about the trajectory of the investigation, how it relates to Miles King, and about when he disclosed certain discovery to Adam Lally, those search warrants, remember that? And about securing Miles King's jail calls after indictment. He was recognized at the last hearing date of August 5th, 2025, and told that his presence would be required on the next court date for the King hearing. Because if you don't remember, a whole lot happened. Proctor was supposed to be here, but his lawyer showed up without him because he was too busy on the Disney cruise or wherever the duck he was with Lizzie Proctor before Lizzie kicked him out and banished him to Courtney Proctor's couch for the foreseeable. So will he show up this time? Will he readmit himself into the Betty Ford Clinic for racists? Who knows? And like I said, we have Sean Good as well, who has been all over Proctor's box as well. And Brian Tully. His testimony is necessary to determine what Tully knew or should have known about Proctor's conduct, language, or bias prior to, during, and after Mr. King was charged. Tully prepared the CSLI PowerPoint that Proctor presented to the grand jury on November 19th, 2021, and his testimony is necessary to establish what underlying data he was given, by whom, and what became of it, because you just know that Tully loves a good tip-off. Tully also directed that Milton officer John Binda be assigned to work on the investigation after learning that Binda had prior familiarity with King from a 2020 car stop. The Commonwealth acknowledges that Binda's investigative materials were never provided to the prosecutor. Interesting. Tully is also expected to testify about his involvement in this investigation as it relates to Big Bear. Tully was previously going to be called by the Commonwealth as a necessary witness for the hearing. See attached. And then there are a bunch of other folks too that we would all recognize for the most part. Lisa Beatty, remember her from Brian Walsh? Shenanigans involving Proctor and everything in his box. Jennifer Hickman. And if you fire up the old Wayback Machine, you may remember the last time we saw Adam Lally on the stand. He was picking his nose and eating crayons during a very heated line of questioning brought to you in part by Rosemary Scapicchio about his role in retrieving those search warrants from Michael's prostate.
So I physically took the physical file from my office to Ada Hickman's office.
Okay, and do you have a conversation with her?
Yes.
And did you tell her, hey, there's 6 search warrants that I was never able to get from Trooper Proctor?
Again, if I had known or remembered that the 6 search warrants were still outstanding, then I would have got them and provided them. So no, I did not reference that specifically.
But then at some point, Ada Hickman has to come back to you and say, did you not turn over these 6 search warrants? Say that to you?
No.
She never did.
Nope.
Did you ever have a conversation with Ada Hickman about the outstanding 6 search warrants?
Not until recently, no.
And that hearing got delayed mid-push and never continued until now. So dust off your sidewalk chalk and mark your calendars, kids, because this is definitely heating up to be some must-see TV, and hopefully it will be streamed, and I'm sure it will, considering the cast of characters that have been added to this witness list. Again, it's not guaranteed that they will actually be called to testify, but it's very possible. So if you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you enable all alerts as well so you don't miss that video from me. And make sure you hit that like button. It really helps me out, helps the channel out, gets this video out to more eyeballs, because that's what it's all about, is getting as many people tuned in to what the heck is going on in Massachusetts right now. The corruption is real, but the good news is more and more people are talking about it. So, as always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.